Imagine you're doing your regular job, right? Day in and day out. But one day, your employer takes a massive chunk of your regular paycheck, slaps a new sticker on it that says special allowance, and uses that label to completely exclude that money from your pension calculations.
Wow, yeah, that would be quite a shock and grossly unfair.
Right. Your job hasn't changed at all, but your retirement fund just took a massive negative hit. So today, you and I are taking a deep dive into a stack of legal briefs surrounding this exact situation. Is the special allowance anomaly case, which is currently heading to the Supreme Court.
Yes, and our mission here is to structure this really complex banking dispute, kind of like a courtroom debate. We're unpacking exactly what happens when employers artificially split salaries just to reduce retirement benefits to the detriment of retirees.
So, to start this trial, let's look at the plaintiff's core argument. I mean, what exactly is this money doing in the real world?
Well, that's the thing. It's paid universally to public sector banking employees every single month. Like it isn't tied to performance metrics or, compensation for hardship or risk. It absolutely does not require any special duties.
Wait, so if there are no special duties or unique skills required to earn it, what exactly is special about the special allowance?
I mean, nothing at all. That's one of several anomalies with this specific and universal retirees' income. It's literally like pouring the exact same water into two different glasses and claiming one is a very special liquid just because of the shape of the cup.
Oh, I love that analogy. So the employees are arguing the court should look at the water, not the glass.
Exactly. Because this money is universally paid without any special conditions, they argue it's effectively just disguised basic salary.
Okay, but let's look at the bank's defense here. Didn't the bank labor unions explicitly sign off on this setup through collective bargaining?
They did, yes.
So if the unions agreed to the math, how can the former employees or retirees sue later claiming it's unfair? Plus, fixing this retrospectively would cost public sector banks like billions.
You definitely think a union agreement is ironclad, right? But collective bargaining actually cannot override statutory law or constitutional guarantees.
So you can't consent to something illegal.
Precisely, no. You simply cannot consent to an illegality. And as for that massive financial burden on the banks, courts have ruled time and again that a lack of funds never justifies denying someone a legal entitlement.
Well, the banks do have another major shield though, right? That Vivekananda Vidya Mandir Supreme Court ruling.
Yes, they lean heavily on that one.
Because from our sources, the banks point out that ruling only applied to the Employees Provident Fund or EPF, which is government managed. Since banks manage their own private PF trusts, they claim those rules simply do not apply to them.
Right, they're trying to say, different fund manager, different rules, but the mechanism here isn't the point.
It's not about who holds the money.
No, not at all. That Vivekananda judgment established a universal overarching legal principle. It created a clear functional test for distinguishing a true allowance from a basic wage.
Meaning a corporate label doesn't actually change the underlying legal character of the pay.
Exactly. That principle applies whether the government holds the trust or the bank holds it.
Okay, let's look at the bank's own internal rulebook then. They point to a 2018 Gazette notification, which is an official government publication that legally excluded this pay from pension calculations.
Yes, they do.
Doesn't that make their policy pretty airtight?
You would think so, but it actually exposes a massive flaw in their defense. So in 2018, they claimed this allowance was officially exempt. But then they issued a brand new Gazette notification in 2024 to specifically exempt the 2015 special allowance.
Wait, why would they need a new rule if the old one worked or was watertight?
Exactly. By issuing that new rule, they accidentally showed their hand. They proved their previous regulations weren't actually watertight. Otherwise, they wouldn't have needed to patch the leak in 2024.
Oh, wow. So they essentially admitted their own rules were broken for years. And that severely impacts long-term retiree benefits.
It does. It's a huge hit to the employees.
But couldn't the banks argue the employees already cashed these checks for years without complaining? In legal terms, isn't there an estoppel, meaning you can't go back on your past acceptance?
I mean, generally, yes, but not when it comes to fundamental rights. A pension is not corporate charity, you know. It is deferred wages and constitutionally personal property.
Right, money an employee earns during their active service to be paid out on retirement.
Exactly, and the courts hold that you cannot use estoppel to cancel out a constitutional right. You don't forfeit your fundamental or constitutional right to your earned wages just because you accepted your monthly paycheck.
So, this entire dispute really just boils down to the doctrine of substance over form.
Pretty much, it really does. Employers shouldn't be allowed to exclude a permanent, universally paid chunk of your salary from your retirement just by getting creative with the label of your paycheck.
Right, and the Supreme Court's ultimate decision here will determine if millions of retirees receive the deferred wages they actually earned retrospectively and prospectively.
It's going to be a landmark ruling for sure.
It really makes you think about your own paycheck. If the Supreme Court officially rules that corporate labels don't matter and only the actual substance of the pay does, how many other creative allowances across your own industry might suddenly be exposed as basic wages?
Thank you for watching. We trust you found this podcast on special allowance and the forthcoming Supreme Court case interesting. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share on Facebook and other social media platforms.